Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. I am Andrew Hansen alongside Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. And we had some solid winners last night, Coach, on DraftKings, after hours. We had an injury or two that took us down a little bit with PJ Dozier. But 7-game slate here on Tuesday. Are you ready for this challenge?
Absolutely. And let me start off by saying, may the 4th be with you.
Yes, that's right.
We are counting on the 4th to bring us forth this slate and just crush it after the tough, that PJ Dozier injury was gut-wrenching to say the least. Just another 5-6 points, we're all good.
Yeah.
And 356.6 isn't a bad number. But, when your guy gets hurt in the first quarter like that, that's tough. But, that's DFS. You get good and bad. You get variance, and that's all part of it. But we've got a nice, sharp 7-gamer tonight. I think we're going to crush it.
Absolutely. Let's bring forth the winners. We've got 7 games, 7 teams involved in a back-to-back. We have 1 230 total, 1 240 total.
Yeah.
Of course, you get to call both of those games, but
Of course.
And we have an interesting main slate at 7. The after hours, quote unquote, slate is at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's a 3-game slate on FanDuel, so we'll be building lineups for our members on both of those slates. But let's start with the main slate at 7 o'clock.
Yeah. And you got to explain to me why they wouldn't put that 10 o'clock game in the after-hours slate, just to make, blow people's minds. I've never seen that before. That's so weird.
A little bit quirky.
Very quirky. Yes, the first game, and there's monster player news all over the board here. So the Suns 46-18 at the Cavs 21-43. Big spread here. Phoenix 12.5 on the first night of a back-to-back. Cleveland is 218 over under in this game with Phoenix, and they're on a first night of a back-to-back. Big problem here, 25th and 23rd in pace. Very not very pleasant for DFS players. Defensively, we know Phoenix is rock solid. They're 6th. Cleveland 23rd, not the worst, but not playing great D. All kinds of news all over the board here. As we know, Cleveland has just been rolling the wheel to see who plays, who sits, what's going on. But Garland is out hurt. That's the big news here because it massively elevates Sexton. However, Sexton's got to face, the slow pace, the teeth of the defense with Chris Paul and a big spread where it could blow out. We also have Hartenstein and Stevens out. For Phoenix, Crowder and Nader remain out. Cameron Payne is questionable. So the key guys from Phoenix are in. Low total here, 218 with some really good games. The possibility of a blowout. And it just, this game just reeks of danger. I do have to mention one thing that I'm still scratching my head. I've got to think there's a reason for it. But did you see that the Cavs signed Anderson
Varejao, yeah.
Varejao?
Yeah.
Is that so he can retire, or is he really going to play? He's got to be 40 years old.
I know. It's been a while. Yeah, blast from the past. Wouldn't be surprised if it's either. Maybe let him play a little bit here down the stretch and finish out his career. But he probably, will help them lose a couple games if he's not in top shape. Can't figure that he is.
I was so confused when I saw that. I thought, is this one of those gimmick deals where they sign him for a day and then he retires? Because he didn't play like with Ilgauskas on LeBron's almost like rookie year?
I don't know if he went that far back, but
it was a long time ago,
because he was definitely in the glory days of the Cavaliers run.
Yeah, man. That I haven't had a chance to look it up because I was preparing, but I just wanted to throw that out there because it was like, wait a minute, what is that? Varejao,
yeah,
whatever. It is Varejao, not Varejo, but I had forgotten. I haven't said his name probably in 12 years. But anyway, I thought that was sort of comical, but. Otherwise, you have Jared Allen, who's always, a possibility, but his price is high. Don't trust the Kevin Love minutes, especially against Torrey Craig defense. Just really a horrible game. Don't want to start my day off with this game and count on anybody doing much of anything. And it's a 6-game slate for me, Andrew. I'm just not interested.
Yeah, mostly a one-off possibility for me at the most. Ayton's pretty cheap for that matchup. Torrey Craig is the value play I like the most. Two of the last 5 games, he's given 40-plus fantasy points, and he's in the 3K range. And he's taking advantage of that starting opportunity with Crowder out. So yeah. I like his potential. If Cameron Payne sits, then Javon Carter is the guy who's benefiting off the bench. Got 27 minutes last game. Did okay. He's cheap. He's playable. But, yeah, I'm looking at Torrey Craig there primarily. And then with Cleveland, it's probably going to be a pass for me. Sexton will certainly get a boost, like you said. And Osman is back in the mix, getting big opportunities with all those guys out. But it's a tough matchup for him across the board if he gets some Bridges or Craig. And then you may see Dotson get some more minutes with Garland out, but I'm not big on playing Damian Dotson. So Torrey Craig most likely here at the most, and then we move down the road.
I don't know. I think I'm locking in Varejo and all those old Cav guys just for you.
All right, Charlotte and Detroit. Some younger players in this one. The other 7 o'clock game, Charlotte favored by 7 on the road, 216 total, back-to-back for Detroit. They sat their key guys, Joseph, Grant, Plumlee. So we'll see if they're back out there tonight. And then on the Charlotte side, we have Devontae Graham and Cody Martin out. So we've got some opportunities opened up there. These teams played recently. It was a bit of a dud, as expected, 107-94, Charlotte with the win. They're, just pretty much average across the board, if not below average. Detroit, slow pace, slow offense, or inefficient offense. Everything else is about average. So not a great game to target, although the prices are pretty low on these Charlotte guys, right around 7K and even less for LaMelo, Rozier, and Bridges. Those are the 3 guys I'm looking at primarily. They were all solid in the matchup before. If Jeremy Grant plays, then I think that could make it tougher for Bridges potentially if he spends some time defending him. So I would lean a little bit more towards LaMelo and Rozier. LaMelo, they're both really cheap on FanDuel, 6,200 and 6,000.
I was surprised.
So, yeah, they're both in play for me. On the bench, I think Malik Monk will have probably a few more minutes with both of those guys out, Graham and Martin. He's a little bit cheaper on DraftKings, a little pricey on FanDuel. And then we'll see about the starting center for Detroit. If Plumlee starts and Stewart backs him up, then I'm not going to consider Bismack Biyombo. But if Stewart starts again, the backup center against Detroit has done really well the last couple games because it's Tyler Cook as the backup big, and Bismack played well against him 2 games ago. In the last game last night, Mo Bamba smashed against Cook. So there's a value play potential if Plumlee's sitting again. But if he starts, I probably won't go there, and it'll be one of those key guards for Charlotte. And then on Detroit, the only guy I'm most likely interested in is Corey Joseph if he starts because he's in the 4,900 on both sites. I like the possibilities there. And I don't think I'm going to get involved with anybody else with more guys in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll give my opinion on the Charlotte side, but the Detroit side, I mean, they have 4 starters questionable. Ellington, Grant, Plumlee, and Joseph, who could all easily start. Not for sure, but we just need to know who's in, who's out here, because if they're all in, it becomes a 10-man deep bench for Detroit, and I'm just not that interested. They don't want to win, so who the heck knows with that squad. But Charlotte does want to win. They're 31-33 and in the playoff fight, and I like the pricing. I'm definitely interested in LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier. I could see lineups where I play both, but I certainly will have one or the other in all the additional ones. Don't want to mess with the bigs. Not a believer in the 3, 4, 5 position, mainly for Charlotte. Just not enough consistent output. And the interior defense of Detroit's not bad, except for when they get to Cook. But if Plumlee plays and Stewart backs him up, Cook's going to get very few minutes. So I'll wait for the news on Detroit to see if I add anybody there. And I'll be counting on that Charlotte backcourt to really step up tonight.
Excellent.
All right, game 3. It is also a 7:30 Eastern game, and this is the biggie, the big fat 242 total, and only a 1.5 point favorite for Milwaukee. It is the first night of a back-to-back for Milwaukee, island game for Brooklyn. Gotta love these numbers, man. Everything adds up. 2nd and 10th in pace, 22nd for Brooklyn in defense. Milwaukee is 9th, but sort of going the wrong direction there. They were up to 3rd for a while. And then Brooklyn Chiozza and Harden are the only 2 I have listed as out. I don't have any questionables. And then for Milwaukee, Teague is out. Portis is questionable. And that's really all. So they're going to have a lot of their main guys for this game. And the question is, where do you spend salary? I mean, you can go over budget just on this game. I mean, you look at the price of Irving, Durant, and Giannis alone. I mean, that breaks the bank. And then, the next guys up aren't exactly giveaways in Middleton and Holiday. You got to spend up for them as well. It's this one is going to be obviously a big difference maker. I'm certainly going to have multiple exposure here, but I'm going to bite the bullet between Irving, Durant, and Giannis and only probably play one of them. And the reason being is I have some other salary I want to use in these other games, and I don't want to just be scraping the bottom of the barrel the rest of the way. But I think what I'll do is go with a buy up on one of these guys, and then maybe 2 of the more mid-level guys and see where that gets me. So, who I'm considering right now is the possibility of Durant as being the pay-up guy. And I'm thinking of giving Holiday another shot. He really let me down the last game, finished very, very poorly in the fourth quarter, but he's been so consistent. Kyrie's defense is not good. So, maybe a Durant, Holiday, Middleton kind of combination, which still gives you a lot of, punch for your dollar. But, if I switch from Durant to Giannis, which I doubt that I will, then instead of going Middleton, I'll probably go to a secondary guy with Brooklyn that's even cheaper, possibly a Jeff Green who's getting monster minutes as well. So a complex game, a key game on the slate. And I think you really can't afford to make a mistake with your pay up here. I would expect most people, I think, will pay up for either Durant or Irving and then Giannis on the other side. I think that's going to be a build that most people utilize to have some correlation there. I'm going to try to, back the foot off the pedal just a bit in this game, have good exposure, but not be all in and then scrambling the rest of the way. What do you think?
I don't think I want to put the pedal all the way to the metal here and stack this one heavily because of those price tags that you mentioned. But I'm leaning towards probably 2 of those guys on FanDuel, maybe only one of them on DraftKings.
Okay.
Durant only 9,300 over there, so
yeah, that's a good price.
He'll probably be locked in for me there. But I think you can fit Durant and Giannis both on FanDuel, so that's where I'm leaning right now.
Okay. No love for Kyrie?
Nah, maybe not quite enough love for Kyrie at almost 10, 95, 9,600.
Drew's a tough defender too.
Yeah, I mean, we do also have Steph and Luka to choose from if we want to pay up. So quite a collection here of
I need that
studs.
Loan again for extra salary, right. Please.
And then I'm not as interested here in the secondary guys. Nobody really jumping out at me. Shamet did pretty well off the bench in this matchup. He's still pretty affordable. DeAndre Jordan on DraftKings at 3,900 if he starts. I think there's a good chance he'll have another double-double and pay that off. But not really fired up about anybody else in particular. These guys off the bench for Milwaukee, they're tough because they're inconsistent. They're pretty consistent with their minutes. Forbes, Connaughton, PJ Tucker, but Tucker's not really involved offensively.
No.
And then Forbes and Connaughton, it can really go back and forth about who hits the threes and gets the open looks. So, not feeling great about those guys in cash.
I'm with you.
All right, let's move to the 8 o'clock games. Again, there are 3 of them for that after-hour slate on FanDuel that we'll be building lineups for and providing to our members.
Which doesn't include the after-hours game at 10 o'clock.
Exactly.
So go figure.
Yeah. So full lineups on FanDuel and Yahoo, and then the DraftKings Coaches Clipboard. Jump in with us if you'd like, dfscoachtalk.com. Thanks to all the new members here. We're having a great beginning of May. And we're going to finish this NBA season strong. Coach, we're down to like 8 games for these teams.
I can't believe it.
And I can't wait for the playoffs because then you really get full effort, full minutes. But I do like these opportunities for us with some of these backups, these young guys that we're watching closely.
I agree.
I think
it gives us a big edge.
Yeah.
It really does, because most people don't know what to do with those guys. But I think it's going to be a great finish. It takes a lot of homework, but man, it can pay off.
Absolutely. So let's start the 8 o'clock games with Dallas in Miami. Your Mavericks are underdogs against your Heat. Two of your key teams.
My East and West favorite teams.
There you go. 215.5 total. We have the slow pace from both teams. They played early in this season. How about this? 93-83.
Yeah.
Because of those slow paces, Miami's great defense. And interesting in that one that it was so low scoring, but Luka still went for 27, 15, and 7. And Butler and Iguodala were playing in that game. Iguodala didn't get big minutes, but that's not too shabby for a 93-83 game. And he's been playing really well the last couple games. Coming off that ejection, you got to figure he'll be fired up. It's an island game for both teams.
If he gets one more tee, he's has to sit a game suspension.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. But saying all that, he's not in my primary build here. Almost 11,000 on both sites. Even if he has a similar performance, that's only 55. It's only about 5x return. So I'd rather spend up in that Brooklyn-Milwaukee game, or maybe Curry in the next one. So I'm looking at primarily fading the key guys here. Porzingis is doubtful. I'm not going to play him if he plays. Kleba is questionable. So we may get some more minutes for these bigs like Powell and maybe even Boban. But I don't think I'll go there. Brunson is, again, the only value play that I have somewhat faith in on your Mavs. I mean, I like guys like DFS. He has the upside, but he's inconsistent. Richardson minutes haven't been great. We do have THJ available after missing the last one, so that just crowds it even more. So probably Brunson or pass for Dallas. With Miami, we do have Hero and Oladipo out. Iguodala questionable, so you could look at Nunn or Goran Dragic. They'll get good minutes and lots of usage. Bam he's playable to me. He hasn't really shown the ceiling games in a while, getting over 50 fantasy points, but it is a good matchup. So he's playable to me, but I'd rather go with a Brunson or maybe a Nunn or Dragic as a cheaper play here.
All right. Well, here's a snippet for tomorrow. I'm a complete fade on Luka. I don't like Luka tonight. I think Butler guards him. And I don't like the matchup. I don't like the pace. It just, I don't think he gets to 5X. So he's a complete fade for me everywhere. So if he busts out and goes berserk, we can post this on Twitter with the Homer Simpson fading into the bushes. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say fade him. So I'm not playing any Mavericks at all. Don't like the matchup for them here. And I'm only playing one guy from the Miami Heat, but he's going to be in 100% of my lineups. He's going to be my favorite play on the slate. Hopefully we can pull that snippet as well. I think Bam is due for a breakout game. And if there's anything that can bring you to a breakout game, it's brought the likes of guys like Eubanks and Whiteside and Metu. And I could go on down the line for guys that have smashed the interior of Dallas that have no business even being on the court. So I think Bam gets a good run here. It's an important game for Miami as well. And Bam's in all my lineups, not considering anybody else from either side. And I feel real comfortable, just doing the little Bam smash here and moving on.
I hope he pays off.
There you go. That's a big endorsement, so he better. All right, the final 8 o'clock game on the slate is the Sacramento Kings at the Oklahoma City Thunder. This should be a fun one, too. Sacramento somehow is favored by 4.5. You talk about two sad sack teams trying to get the number one pick. They're favored by 4.5. It's a 227.5 over-under. First night of a back-to-back for Sacramento. 27 and 37 and 21 and 44. So not banner years for either team. But the good news is, you ready for this one, Andrew? 8th and 6th in pace.
Yep.
30th and 26th in defense.
Love it.
So we're talking about box card numbers for DFS. And this is my equal game to the obvious Brooklyn-Milwaukee game as far as finding the gems here to play that can really do well. And I think we'll have a better chance to do that because I very seriously doubt Barnes plays. He's only listed right now as doubtful. And we know Halliburton's out probably for the rest of the year, I would think. I doubt they'll get him back in there for 8 games when he had that. Did you see how he
that
did
was
that sort of
really scary, awkward looking, not good.
No, it wasn't. It was terrible. And Metu's also questionable. So they're a little light-handed there. And then we already know Fox has been out for quite some time. On the Oklahoma side, Oklahoma City side, we've got Pokusevski is questionable. But other than that, they've got their main dogs in there. So a couple of pointers I want to bring out here. I think you're going to have a lot of false ownership for Marvin Bagley because he did so well. Another one in the list of big men that murdered Dallas inside. It was his best game of the year. I don't think he'll get enough minutes. He's not Walton's favorite guy, and I think he regresses from that late game. And I think it's a cool fade because I think he's going to garner too much membership or ownership from the people that are overreacting to that last game. Who I do like here, though, is the guys have been pretty much given the open rein, which is Buddy Hield. He's really shooting the ball well, but here's the problem. And this is why we have to make this decision. Do you think Buddy Hield gets Lou Dort?
Yes,
I do too. So that's enough to put Buddy on the skids here, but it does open it up for some other guys possibly on the Sacramento side. I mean, you've got some sneaky guys here, in Rashawn Holmes, who's been quiet, hasn't done, anything super flashy. And then, you can look to some of the Sacramento bench guys too, if you want to, try to anticipate what the rotation's going to look like. Even a Harkless or some of the guys that haven't played well. I think you're going to find some sneaky value in this game. I'm probably when push comes to shove, unless Dort is somehow ruled out, which that's happened a few times, he's sort of played every other game. But if he's in, I'll probably fade Hield, but not, my favorite thing to do. I think DeLon Wright's a decent play, though, too. Going against the rookie, they're down to their third point guard. I mean, it's him. And, he played well against Dallas. I know he wanted to stick it to them because they sort of gave up on him last year. But, I don't think he's a false a false guy as far as his numbers. He's always put some stocks on the board, and I like him as a value play here. So I'll have a couple guys on the sack side for sure. This is the game I think Lou Dort pays off. He was disappointing in his last round a lot, and I do like him here if he's cleared to play and no minutes restrictions. He's certainly on my board. Also, like Baisley, he's been a big guy for me all year. His price has gone up a little bit, but I like him. So I could easily see myself, Andrew, coming out of this game maybe with a Wright, Holmes, Dort, Baisley kind of mixture. And then we need to see what that news is on Pokachevsky, because that changes the rotation for Oklahoma City and opens things up for guys like Kenrich Williams, Ty Jerome, and a few of their guys off the bench. So I like this game. I think it's going to get overlooked, but it is really a good DFS game that I'm excited to get after it. And I feel like the ownership will be down a little bit.
Yeah, I like this one as well. I think DeLon Wright will step up, and he's solid. He's talented. He's got size to handle the show. So I like him. I agree. I plan to fade Hield because of Dort's defense. With the bigs, I'm a little bit different than you. I actually like Bagley, and okay. I'm kicking myself for not playing him the last game, because 2 games ago when he came back, I saw a lot of that game. I thought he looked good. I thought he looked athletic and in shape for being out for a while, and then I just didn't get around to playing him in that last game. But if Barnes is out again, I think his minutes are safe. I think he'll get in the 30s. And with the good pace here, good price, I'll go back to Bagley. And I think he has a little better matchup than Holmes. Holmes has to deal with the length of Moses Brown, who hasn't been getting huge minutes. Maybe he'll get a little bit more. And when he's out there, I think it'll be a little bit tougher sledding for Holmes to maneuver in the paint because of that length. And then you could also look at Terrence Davis off the bench as another guy who'll be in the key guard rotation here. He's even
that could be the guy off the bench that could pop. Yeah, and almost no ownership.
Yeah, even cheaper than DeLon Wright.
Right.
So there's another guy I'm looking at. With OKC, I like Dort here again as well, like you. In that last game, he was 4 for 19 from the field against Phoenix.
Yeah.
So
he couldn't hit anything.
Let's just shoot 50% or better from the field, and
And who do you think's better defensively, Phoenix or Sacramento?
I know it's close. It is a tough call. I just don't know who to give the edge to.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I like Dort here, and I agree with you with Pokachevsky. As he's out, that just opens up minutes for these bench guys. And I enjoyed watching the trio off the bench here of Ty Jerome, Svi, and Gabriel Deck. And they're certainly wanting to get a look at those guys together as a unit. Deck obviously just signed and finally getting involved, and he's had 2 straight games with 25 fantasy points, and he's 0 for 6 on 3-pointers.
Wow.
So if he hits a couple threes at his price tag, he's also interesting to me, and I'm with you. I like this game environment, and so if Pokachevsky is out, then I'm also going to look at one of these OKC bench guys.
Yeah, I think he can be a real differentiator for us as well. I'm with you.
Excellent.
All right, the game that doesn't exist really hardly at all.
Well, no, we do have one other 8 o'clock game. Don't forget about Golden State and New Orleans.
Oh, wow. I tried to skip a game again.
You tried to skip a really nice see, you had this 235 total. It would have been yours, but now I have to take it. Yeah. So,
my goodness.
Rematch from last night. Golden State won by 15. And it is a 235 total here. New Orleans favored by 3. And this is another really good game environment on paper. Golden State, great pace. New Orleans, bad defense. And that was my concern last night, was the difference in these defenses. Golden State 7th, and they showed up and did well. Lonzo was 3 for 18. Ingram didn't do much. Zion scored it well, 32, but 8 rebounds and not a whole lot else, so didn't get to value. And I'm looking at this game pretty similar. As far as it looks right now, we may have the same rotations. Oubre's still out. Damian Lee and Pascal still doubtful. Steven Adams questionable again. If we get the same rotation, Steph is in play for me. Bazemore, I wish I'd played more of him yesterday. He was solid. Nice mid-tier option. Got the stocks like he usually does. Draymond was awesome with the triple-double. Toscano Anderson was another solid option. With New Orleans, the funny thing is a couple of these prices are even higher than yesterday, like Lonzo. So I don't plan to go there. Hernan Gomez was just sort of okay. 25 minutes, got close to a double-double, but didn't get any stocks. So kind of a similar approach for me as yesterday. Steph, maybe get a little more exposure to Bazemore, depending on the roster construction. On FanDuel, I don't know if I'll go there because we've got Durant, we've got Dort, some other small forwards I like a little bit better. What's your take on this rematch?
Yeah, I mean, this is the other pay-up guy that I have no problem just going right back to him, and that's Curry. I mean, he looked fine yesterday. I mean, I didn't see any of the injuries really creeping up from what I saw. So, I mean, it's hard not to go back to him. They really don't have an answer for him. And Van Gundy really doesn't run doubles and stuff that much off of him, or at him. So I think Curry's a solid pay-up guy. Again, with the big bucks from the Brooklyn-Milwaukee game and then being able to save a few dollars on the Sacramento Thunder game, I think it just allows the Curry buy-up. So I'm with him as also. Bazemore, I think, is definitely playable again. I mean, he's just in his element right now. It's the same matchup, so no reason to really fade him. I love Toscano Anderson's hustle and the way he plays. I'm also thinking about putting him in there. Don't want to go 3 deep, so it may end up being either Bazemore or Toscano Anderson, depending on my build. So I like those guys. On the Pelican side, it's just they're not priced right. I mean, they stink, man. They never win. I know they get some decent stats here and there. I usually know when to push the button on Lonzo Ball, and I wanted to go back to Lonzo, but too many good point guards on the slate, and I don't like his price. I think he was moved up price-wise prematurely, or maybe he was underpriced before, but. And then, Zion, I've seen this really steady decrease in his periphery stats. He's getting less and less rebounds, not getting as many steals and blocks. He's just scoring the ball. And at his price, you can't afford a guy that's mainly just scoring. I think Baze and some of the wings can bother whom I think the Ingram, yeah. I think they can bother Ingram enough to slow him down to not be able to bust his number. He's really expensive also. And I don't know, the Pelicans just don't look in sync to me. I think they're sort of giving up and really don't want any part of that. So, it's only a 2-point spread and New Orleans favored by 2, which is, I thought, very interesting because Golden State certainly looked like the better team last night, and I hope this game stays where it needs to for Curry and whatever other player I put in there from Golden State to get enough run. But it is tempting to want to play a Pelican to get a little bit of correlation in this game. I just don't think the price for their 3 studs is worth it, and I certainly want no part of that, Gomez, Jackson Hayes mixture at center. So probably, just take a little bit of that Warriors ownership and then head down the road for the last game on the slate, which is Toronto and the Clippers. It is definitely a late night sweat game, 2 hours later than the rest. It isn't on the after hours slate. It's going to, I guess, a single game for FanDuel, so it's a little bit different, but it is an interesting game. We've got Clippers by 9.5 and a 221.5 total. Pace-wise, Toronto's 10th, Clippers are 26th. From the defensive side, 12th and 10th, so you got two decent defensive teams, which definitely isn't very conducive to big DFS points. Then you have two doubtful key guys for Toronto in Anunoby and Trent. So, they're going to be a little bit shorthanded. And I guess Van Vliet is questionable as well, or probable? What do you have?
I've got him as probable.
Yeah, I think he'll probably play, but we need to keep an eye on that because they've been benching guys late. So if you're going to include him, just make sure you have a secondary shift. With only one late game, you don't want to get caught with that spot. So maybe Van Vliet's not a bad play under the circumstances because he'll be lower owned, but don't have him just as your solo guy there and then get stuck if he doesn't play. Plus, he'll probably garner Paul George defense on top of that. The question is this game going to stay close enough? I am tempted to look at either George or Kawhi here just because Anunoby's sitting out and he is their defensive stopper. So you can pay up for one of those guys if you'd like. But, does the game stay close enough? Do they get a full run is the big question. I think they're certainly both strong plays for 50 DFS points. I just don't feel like either one of them is in a position here for just a blow up, break the slate 75, 80 point game. Just the Clippers aren't really running their organization that way. They're 21 games over 500. They're in a great spot, and I think they want to just keep everybody somewhat healthy and fresh for the playoffs. So it does deter you from them, going all in with a guy and getting monster minutes. So, it crushes the secondary guys like the Jacksons and Morrises and Zubats when Kawhi and George play. And then, if you're not going to go there, it's hard to go with the other guys either. So I'm not on the Clippers side. I do like a few Raptors. I'm not going to go back to Kyle Lowry, even though he's my hero of the week. He just absolutely crushed it the night before last and brought home a lot of the bacon. But if Van Vliet and Siakam are both out there with him, it definitely reduces some of his oomph. And then Siakam, I'm not really going toward either because he's gonna get Kawhi defense more than likely. So that's a bit of a concern. Birch, his price has come up, but he is getting monster run. I had read some coach speak, not coach speak. It was beat writer stuff talking about Lowry wanting to get Birch paid and get him signed, long term for Toronto. He's a Canadian, and that's where he wanted to go. He actually asked the Orlando front office if they could trade him to Toronto or let him go so he could sign in Toronto. And so they let him go, and that's where he went. So, Birch is on my list. I think that he's got the potential to do well, more so on the sites that let you play, two centers. Is Birch, is Birch still power forward on FanDuel, or did they switch him to center? Yeah, I thought they switched him. And yeah, that hurts a little bit. So, more so on DraftKings or Yahoo where you can play multiple centers. But, I'm not going to have a ton of exposure to this game, but I would like to have some. And if I do choose to go Van Vliet, then it would be with a secondary guy that I can do a double switch. But not really crazy about this game. I think there might be one or two guys, though, that can make a difference for you. But interested to see your thoughts on it because I think this is the toughest game to figure out on the card.
Well, I'm with you on the Clippers guys, Paul George and Kawhi. Same sentiments there. Don't really like the starters in this matchup, game environment for the Clippers. I kind of like looking at Rondo and Cousins, though, off the bench.
Okay.
Rondo has really picked it up in the last couple games. 30
Yeah.
minutes against Denver. Mann and Kennard really had their minutes reduced. And I just don't see a good matchup against him off the bench for Toronto. These guys have been playing Hood, Bembury. So I just
Probably Malachi Flynn now.
yeah, I guess it'll be Flynn if Van Vliet's out there. So at 36 and 3,800, he's a value play you could look at. And Cousins has been playing well. He's expensive on FanDuel at 5,400, but he's only 37 on DraftKings. So there's another one-off you could look at. And with Toronto, I do like Birch here. I like playing centers against Zubats and company.
Yeah.
And that I love that nugget, that extra nugget of Lowry, wanting to get him paid, and he has really looked good for Toronto.
Oh,
Isn't
he's
it
been
amazing?
unreal.
Just the eye test, how a change of location, a change of uniform. I mean, to me, he looks longer, faster, more athletic.
Well, you know why? He's playing for the money. I mean, look what Moses Brown did for Oklahoma City for a couple of weeks. I think did he have a 2020 game, if I'm not mistaken?
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah, and so he got, since he signed that deal, I don't know if we've seen a double-double, let alone a 2020. I want to mention one more thing before I forget. My gut tells me, and I could be dead wrong, I see no report of it, but if with Anunoby sitting, if he does, I think Watanabe might get the bigger minutes at that position. And he's flexible and he could be a real sneaky value play.
Yeah, he's definitely got the talent. And I was looking at his numbers today. His shooting numbers are really good. He's minimum price on both sites. And I'm surprised he hasn't had more 20 fantasy point nights. He always just seems to get, 15 to 18 minutes and 15 to 18 fantasy points.
I mean, he can get the stocks. He can shoot the three. He can fly. I mean, he's big.
Yeah.
So you would think he's a guy just looking to pop 27 fantasy points with zero, ownership. So could be a sneaky secret squirrel. We haven't said that in a long time.
There you go.
How about that?
Could be. So that's the group there. Very interesting dynamic here with it being 2 hours later and lower total and all the Clippers key guys out there mixing it up. But I think we can squeeze one value play out of here to finish things off.
It's always nice to have a late guy in there. Not that that's why you play him, but it's nice not to have to just have your number set,
Yeah, we had a member ask about that recently. Do you want to target two guys in the last game on FanDuel was the question. And to me, it depends. I think it can be beneficial, but to me, it depends on the slate, depends on the game, depends on the news. So sometimes you may want it as an advantage if there is a question mark with a key guy and you can set it up to take advantage of either scenario. He's in, he's out, and how that trickles down. But obviously you have to plan it out if you're getting involved with somebody who has a question mark. But other times, it's a dud game. You just fade it, and you don't push to have somebody in the last game just to have somebody.
Exactly right. And I tell everybody all the time, I train my brain to look at the slate and just refuse to consider in my brain when the games are. But then it would be great if it was just like that. But then you have to do a secondary look once you've built that core because of what you said, and the example's perfect today with Van Vliet. Yes, he's probably going to play, but now you have to know that it's the single solo game at night because it determines, whether you have to play a secondary price guy that you can flip to and all of those kind of things. So my advice always is, look through the whole slate, prepare it, build it like it's all playing at the same time, and then react to any of the news that you need to. But yeah, I mean, look at last night. Maybe I forced PJ Dozier in there and didn't need to. I didn't think about it that way. I thought he was a good play, and he could have been if he wouldn't have got hurt. But man, if I wouldn't have had him and just went ahead and played an earlier guy, it's takedown city. So it can work both ways, but just don't let that be the determining factor unless you have to flop somebody out.
Yeah, another perfect example from last night was Taj Gibson,
Yeah.
where I was eyeing him all day as a value play, but in my key lineups, I didn't have him on FanDuel because he was a power forward. I loved Sabonis, and I had Wagner, and I had one other guy, Stewart. And so
Yeah.
those were the three other guys I was looking at in power forward, and they all played earlier games, and the news broke he was going to start, and I couldn't pivot to him on FanDuel. He was in every lineup of mine on DraftKings because it's a lot easier to shuffle things around.
Right.
And so that's the thing you have to do is if you're targeting one of those guys, you have to figure out, can you plug him in as a placeholder and then pivot or not? And I was tempted to, but I just didn't want to pass up Sabonis and Stewart because I felt good about those guys. So that's the sacrifice you have to make, and how you have to look ahead, and obviously we're doing that in our lineups. So again, jump in with us if you'd like to grab those lineups tonight. DFSCoachTalk.com. Any questions, reach out to us on Twitter at DFS CoachTalk. You can also follow the coach at JoeySarvadi. You can find me at Language Olympic. And if you don't mind, subscribe to the channel on YouTube if that's where you're watching and you haven't already. Or just give us a thumbs up wherever you're listening. We'd certainly appreciate that support. And we're going to continue to bring this to you 7 days a week in front of the paywall. We'll be back tomorrow to break down the NBA. So we'll wrap it up here. On behalf of the coach and the rest of the DFS Coach Talk team, I'm Andrew Hansen. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow as we look to crush it in DFS.
May the fourth be with you.